What if I told you that trying to change your life overnight is the quickest way that you can wreck your self-confidence? If you are like me and you get on your phone, maybe scroll through Instagram, you're constantly bombarded with all of these self-help hacks that are meant to change your life overnight or to change your life in days or weeks. But those are unrealistic. Hi guys, my name is Liz. I am an epidemiologist, a plant-based nutrition specialist, and a health coach. And in this video, we are going to talk about the danger of quick fixes. Quick fixes are incredibly appealing. I know that just as well as anyone. I have a million times thought of a health goal or a health challenge that I wanted to stick to. Maybe did it for a couple of days, lost my steam, and completely forgotten about it. So I know how tempting it is to fall for a quick fix. You have that first day or two of feeling that reward where you maybe feel a bit of that good thing that you want to feel if you're actually able to make that change in your life. But then something about it is just not sustainable, maybe unrealistic. And eventually reality hits and you aren't quite able to live up to that demanding challenge. And that's where that self-confidence struggle hits, where you suddenly lose your own feelings of self-efficacy because you set this challenge for yourself and you haven't been able to deliver. And your self-confidence suffers. And that just makes it so much harder to even be able to get back up and to continue to work on that thing that it was initially calling to you saying, I want to make a change. What can I do to feel better? The reality is that quick fixes are a lot easier to sell to people than the actual truth. And the truth that I think most of us intuitively understand is that if a change is really going to last, it has to be something that we have to work for a little bit. If it's actually going to be sustainable, it is something that we have to integrate into our lives. It has to become part of us. You might be surprised by this because it surprised me to find out that 21 days that you commonly hear cited for how long it takes to form a habit is actually a myth. There is a study that studied how long it takes for people to form a habit and to form a solid routine, and they found that the average was 66 days, but that there was a range of 18 to 254 days that it took some people to develop a new habit. And what seemed to be the determining factor in the length of time that it took was the complexity of that habit. Simple changes for some people are just simpler to incorporate into your life, whereas more complex habit changes are much harder to fully incorporate. So if you are thinking that you're going to be able to change something massive in your life in just 21 days, that is really probably not realistic. For most people, it's not realistic. Set your mind instead on that 66 days. And if you can make that 66 days, then you can feel much more confident that that habit is going to stick in your life. As a health coach, I am trained in behavioral psychology because our job and our role is to walk side by side with people that are trying to make changes in their life and trying to adopt new and healthier habits. When I work with my clients, I use that old expression of working smarter, not harder. And what I mean by working smarter is actually incorporating SMART goals into your life. I'm going to talk more about SMART goals in a later video and what they are and how you can set them. But SMART goals are one of the best ways that you can incorporate a change into your life because you're actually really truly thinking about what that change is going to be and you're getting real with yourself about what you can manage and how you're going to do that and over what period of time. So stay tuned for a later video where I'm going to be talking explicitly about what SMART goals are. In the meantime, there are a couple of strategies that I recommend to my clients that are really good ways to help incorporate new habits into your life. One of the biggest ones that you hear about is habit stacking. Essentially, that is taking some habit that you already have in your life, some routine, whatever that could be. Maybe it is having a cup of coffee every morning, and then figuring out how that habit that you want to incorporate into your life, that new habit, if there's some way that you can link that to something that you do every single day. Maybe you want to drink more water, so you make a plan to drink a glass of water every morning before you have that cup of coffee. That way, it is something, that cup of coffee that you are in a habit of drinking every single day, it is a tangible reminder for you that you need to complete that new goal that you have. Another tool that I recommend to my clients, I call it habit buddies, but really it's just a way for you to have more support and accountability in your life. So I work with clients when they are adopting some sort of new habit in their life. Let's use the same example of maybe drinking more water. They can find someone that might be willing to be accountable with them to that goal and encourage them and support them on that goal. Or maybe that person is even doing that same, forming that same habit with them of drinking more water along with that person. Another strategy that I work with my clients on, and this sort of leads back to those SMART goals, is breaking your goals into realistic pieces. I like to use the analogy here of a marathon. I'm actually in the process of training for a marathon right now, and after not running for a while due to a couple of injuries that I had, I am finding myself having to go really, really slow again just to get my body back to where I can run longer distances. That is something that I find to be pretty frustrating. And I have learned that I can't just expect myself to day one be able to run a marathon and reach that goal. I have to be able to break that up into bits and pieces. So maybe this week the goal is I'm going to run 1 mile a couple of days a week. And maybe in another week or two, I'm going to run 2 miles every couple of days, and so on. So breaking your end goal into smaller pieces is going to help you to make it manageable, because anyone who has, I think most people, whether you're a runner or not, understand that if day one your goal is I'm going to run a marathon, and so you put on your shoes and you run out, go outside and you start running, you're not going to be able to run a marathon. If you haven't trained for it, if you haven't worked for it, you might get a few steps, maybe a few miles if you're lucky, and then that's all you're going to be able to do. So break your goal into manageable pieces. If you bite off more than you can chew right from the get-go, you're going to lose motivation and you're going to fail. And it's going to affect your motivation. Like I mentioned in the beginning of the video, when you don't set a realistic goal for yourself, you lose your self-confidence, you lose that motivation, and it is so much harder for you to actually be able to accomplish that goal and to see that change happen in your life, because you start to feel like a failure. And you're not a failure just because you didn't accomplish this humongous goal that you set for yourself, and you just overpromised yourself. You bit off more than you were able to chew, and what you need to do is just make that goal into bite-sized chunks, so that way you can do what you can today and focus next week on what you can do next week. Not right now. Just stay in the moment. Stay on what you can handle right now, today. Another strategy that I use with my clients is thinking about how we can reduce their hurdles or their barriers. So thinking about the barriers that exist that prevent you from accomplishing that goal or seeing that change in your life is really important. Maybe we use that running example again. If you don't have running shoes, that's one barrier right there. If you don't have a good place to go out running, then that's another barrier. If you feel like you would do better at accomplishing that goal if you had someone that could run alongside with you. That's another barrier. So actually thinking about what those barriers are to you being able to make that change is really important, because you have to understand those barriers before you can start thinking about what you can do to overcome them. Another strategy that I use would be helping my clients to connect their change to their interests in their life. Let's say, for example, you want to improve your diet, maybe eat a more balanced diet. And what that looks like is going to vary a lot depending on the person, but maybe you enjoy trying out new recipes. So you can connect it to your interests by trying out a new cookbook. Maybe find a cookbook that is specific to eating a diet that is more balanced, and then you can help motivate yourself by making a goal of trying a couple of recipes from that cookbook every week. And that can help you to reach that goal of having a more balanced diet and to actually enjoy doing it, because you are doing it while connecting that goal and that change that you're trying to create to something that you already enjoy doing. And the last strategy that I want to mention is making sure that you celebrate your victories. When I work with my clients, we come up with a long-term goal. Maybe it's that you want to be better hydrated, so you're drinking more water. Or maybe it's that you want to run that marathon, eat a balanced diet. Whatever that goal is, we break it up into little chunks, like I mentioned, and then every time you're able to accomplish that or to see some progress, you find a way to celebrate that, because that is work. It's not always easy. Sometimes it is really difficult. So it is important to celebrate that victory, no matter how small it is. That helps you to keep your motivation up and to help you to recognize in yourself the progress that you are making. So remember that change rarely happens overnight, and usually it takes that average of 66 days. You have to put in that work. It's probably not going to be easy, but remember that it is worth it, and to celebrate those victories along the way. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.